Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to a special episode of Weekly Oscar Talk, where we are going to be discussing and breaking down those Oscar nominations that came out this morning at the break of dawn. Lots of crazy surprises. That's what I like about Oscar nomination morning. No matter how obvious some things may seem, there's always a lot of big surprises, some good, some bad, and just, yeah, lots of fun stuff. I'm joined by Antony to break these down.
Yes, very happy, very tired to be here.
Yeah.
It's been a long day, but one that, it's Oscar nominations day. Just reading a lot of the comments on our reactions video was just a lot of fun. People get
It's
so
doing
excited
well.
as we do.
Yeah.
Yes, so thank you to everybody who's, watching it and engaging with it. It was a lot of fun. I didn't know my face could do that, as I tweeted.
So many emotions.
So many emotions. That Penelope Cruz nomination was wonderful. I was very happy with that. But yeah, it's a. I feel like this was a more surprising crop than normal, personally.
Honestly, yeah. I think
And most of them were good surprises.
Most of them, yeah. I think I'm a little spoiled from last year because I liked pretty much all of what they did last year, like the snubbing of Mank in some spots and the overperformance of Sound of Metal and stuff like that. I was vibing with that. So not so much this year, but I still like most of the decisions.
Yeah, so let's just get into them, and we'll start with what they started with. Which I remember 2 years ago when Kathy Bates for Richard Jewell was the first nomination read, and that just set the tone.
This was, I think, more insane.
More insane because it was a Buckley and a Dench. You got a double whammy at the top of the show.
So yeah, Best Supporting Actress nominated was Jessie Buckley, Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose, West Side Story, Judi Dench, Belfast, Kirsten Dunst, The Power of the Dog, and Anjanou Ellis for King Richard. Lots of surprises there. Obviously, Katrina Balfe and Ruth Negga being the ones that were missing. I remember going into this category. This was, I think, everyone agreed, what seemed like the most obvious acting category. It seemed almost like too obvious that it was like scary, like that's just too easy. So there were surprises. I like the Jessie Buckley inclusion. I thought she was really good in that movie. I honestly liked her maybe a little more than Olivia Colman in it, and she's a really good actress. She was really good in I'm Thinking of Ending Things last year, so I'm glad that she's getting her first Oscar nomination. And then Judi Dench is just, I don't like that decision personally. I don't know, what do you think?
I saw a lot of I'm Thinking of Ending Things love this morning on
the double Jessies. Yeah,
double Jessies. I was extraordinarily happy for Jessie Buckley. The Lost Daughter continues to be my favorite film of 2021, so I was glad it got that extra nomination there. I think she's completely deserving. I definitely think she's on par with Olivia Colman. I think they're both exquisite, and I don't think one can work without the other. They really give a perspective to each character that is needed for that narrative to work. So I was definitely I personally felt that you can't nominate Colman without Buckley and vice versa. So I'm glad the Academy agreed with that sentiment. Judi Dench is a surprise because she doesn't really get a scene. She has the line. She has the last line.
It's the final shot,
Yeah, and the final shot. And I imagine that is what, and I do think that if you're into Belfast, which the Academy obviously was, it got 7 nominations this morning, I believe.
In most places, 7. Yes. I do think it's still underperformed overall, though. Like, I don't even know if it's number 2 anymore because it missed editing and cinematography, and those are, like, crucial.
Yeah, I think Power of the Dog and King Richard were the only 2 films not to really miss or underperform anywhere. I think they got what they were going for.
Yeah.
But so I feel like, but so my point being with that is I think, the last moment of Belfast is one of its stronger moments, and she is that moment when, she's left and the family leaves. Spoiler alert, the family leaves. Kenneth Branagh did not stay in Belfast. He went on a wonderful career. He's made, every movie he's made has been in Belfast. And
he refuses to leave.
Refuses to leave. So listen, I'm more surprised in the context that she took the nod from Katrina Balfe. And I know a lot of times we say actors take slots, and it's like it's. I don't think they
No
look
one's
at it as
stealing.
like,
Yeah.
but specifically here because it's one Belfast actor for another. It's. I think it's clear that this was the Belfast spot. It's
Yeah, it's
where we'll argue. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's
So that's
clear
what
that
I was fine.
when you look at, I mean, when you're voting for the category, clearly, obviously, by the way, it turned out more people when they were voting decided to go with Judi Dench than Katrina Balfe. Yeah, but
Which the legend too. It's
yeah, I
not
mean,
like yeah.
she won for, I mean, she won for what was it, Shakespeare in Love, and that's like, is she even in that for like 5, 8 minutes, like something around
I
there?
think it's 8 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, she's won for, I honestly don't think, probably the most deserving thing. She's deserving of an Oscar, but probably not for that. So they clearly do like her.
For
But yeah,
Artemis Fowl. For Cats.
yeah, she this is a little bit of a nice comeback for her and Kenneth Branagh this year.
Yeah,
They
yeah. Honestly,
they
I never would have imagined in 2020 that a year later, Kenneth Branagh and Judi Dench would be Oscar nominated
yeah,
again.
yeah,
That is shocking. Top of the morning to you, indeed.
yep.
Um, as
Honestly,
for
Oscar-worthy performance in Artemis Fowl as well.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, maybe not
um,
Razzie-worthy. Yeah,
So now, also should be noted, a lot of people were touting this fact for Kristen Stewart. However, given that Ariana DeBose's nom was announced first, Ariana DeBose is technically the first openly gay actor to be nominated since Ian McKellen for Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring.
yes.
Um, but uh,
I s-
of course, that's great for Ariana DeBose, great for Kristen Stewart that she is
Yeah,
also an openly gay actor who was nominated. And the two of them being nominated together makes it the first time the two openly gay actors have been nominated in a single year, which is the type of like records that we love to see break.
yes, definitely. I do. I'm not sure their exact sexuality. I believe they're both bisexual. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure there, but I do know some people were bringing up Lady Gaga because I know she's also said she's openly bisexual. So I don't know if that counts too, but maybe not. Either way, it's nice.
I think anybody, I
Inclusion.
think people were just trying to bring Lady Gaga into this conversation in any way they were,
Yeah,
in any way
yeah,
possible, which we will get to.
we will.
But
We will.
yeah, I think this was surprising, of course.
Yeah,
This category kind of sums up how I think this whole day was and how the Oscars
yeah,
usually are. Some expected, your front runners are kind of expected. You get a couple surprises that are great and a couple surprises that are head scratchers. But in the end, it's a pretty good category. And
yeah.
I can't begrudge somebody like Judi Dench getting in. She's a Titan
No,
and she was good in the movie. It's a supporting performance. Though you look at Balf's performance and you're like, really, this one? It was interesting how they went for both of the grandparents over the parents.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. I do think yeah, this is a good encapsulation of the whole thing because like Jesse Buckley's a nice surprise. Judi Dench is like a, I don't know about that surprise, and the rest kind of went as planned. I do think
Yeah,
is the worst the supporting acting categories have lined up since I think ever, honestly. With SAG. They only went 2 for 5 in both of the supporting ones, which is I don't think they've ever been that far off. So
really. Oh
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Um,
The lots of records being broken this season, it seems like, because we'll get to it with the lead categories too. Lots of records were broken there
yeah,
in terms of
which
precursors.
I do like, and when in terms of precursors, because that's of course been talking a lot about again with Lady Gaga. We'll get to, but it's
Yeah.
just you got to know how to balance it. We said this during our BAFTAs predictions. You can't just run in the completely opposite direction just because another organization comes out. Because the thing is, not only do they have different voting methods, it's different when you vote for the Academy Awards. There's just
It
a
is.
different feeling. It's why, PGA can nominate like certain movies or the SAG can honor certain performances, but there is a different feeling it is when you vote for the Academy Awards. So that I think does affect. And I think we saw that a couple of times with these nominations. It's why Jared Leto, for the second year in a row after getting Golden Globe and SAG, doesn't get in for the Oscars. I think that's also something to keep in mind is just know that
Hmm.
when people are voting for Oscars, they have a different mindset.
Definitely. I do think Leto only got SAG this year, though. I do believe he missed the Globe this year.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, because we talked about how the Globes
Surprising. Yeah.
were less crazy than the SAG Awards or the Critics' Choice. I think one of them.
Yeah.
Um,
I believe SAG. But and ending with supporting actress is it's still Ariana DeBose's to take. I've seen some people say Dunst could surprise, but I just feel like there's a big Dunst is definitely number two, but I do think there's a big gap between one and two.
yeah, I'm still. This is it's a longer season than normal, not as long as last year, but I still think this. It's all about momentum. Can Power of the Dog maintain this high 12 nominations, like front runner status? I'm interested because, of course, Nomadland was able to do it, and I think the critiques of Nomadland are similar to the critiques of Power of the Dog in that it's slow, it's a little aimless. These are not criticisms I agree with. I love both those films immensely. Both were, I think Nomadland was my favorite of last year, and Power of the Dog might be my runner up for this year. And to be honest, if I watch it again, I've only seen it once. If I watch it again, it may take the spot from Lost Daughter. So,
Yeah.
point being is I think that if it can maintain that support, and I think with the 12 nominations, if more people see the movie, I do think Kirsten Dunst has a strong chance. I think she's been working in this industry for 20 years. Meanwhile, Ariana DeBose really just, this is her breakout role. So it's what type of narrative are they going to go for? I do sense that, especially when we get to supporting actor, we'll talk about Cody Smith-McPhee and the new revelation in that category.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that it doesn't pick up a different or another acting award, be that Benedict or Kirsten. So we'll get into that. But I'm going to hold on to Kirsten as much as I love Ariana DeBose. I'll be the contrarian.
Oh, you're predicting her as of right now?
I'm gonna predict her, and we'll get to Best Actor.
Okay, interesting. Also, shout out to Kirsten Dunst. She did an interview, I believe, earlier today, and she said that she saw all movies that she needed to see before voting. So, be like
Good.
Kirsten Dunst.
And it was lovely. She actually got to tell Jesse Plemons.
Yeah.
So of course, we had two couples nominated this morning: Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz, Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst. But he had to go to work for some reason this morning, and she got to tell him, and that was a very, if you can read the statement. She had a wonderful statement. Kristen Stewart had a wonderful statement. Yeah. Denis Villeneuve had a wonderful. Tragedy. Every time we say his name now. So a lot of I'm positive Ariana DeBose had something wonderful to say because she had something wonderful to say about the Detroit Film Society.
Yeah,
like
she's very active.
Yeah,
very what's the word? I don't know what the
congenial.
Word is. Yeah, congenial and grateful.
Yeah, which could help. She definitely is campaigning, and she's campaigning well. She's getting people to really recognize her, and I think it helps that she's playing a role like Anita.
Definitely. Next up, Best Costume Design. Cruella, Cyrano, Dune, Nightmare Alley, West Side Story. I don't think there's anything too crazy here. The only thing I would say is House of Gucci missed, but we already know that's an underperforming movie.
Yeah, led a path. I am surprised that Cyrano got in here and only here, I believe. It was the sole nomination.
I believe so, yeah.
So that's interesting, especially given that, House of Gucci did show up for makeup. So, they've seen, I imagine even though it didn't get nominated, it was more seen than Cyrano. Yeah. So, I mean, that's nice at least that a lesser known film got the attention in a probably deserving way. I mean, I've only seen the trailer because the movie's getting pushed back until 2025. Yeah, seriously. But it looked like it was deserving costumes.
Yeah, only one MGM movie can make it in. House of Gucci or Cyrano. Yes. It was Cyrano. Yeah, they're butchering that movie's release, but
yeah, they really did.
I do think Cruella still wins here.
Oh yeah, and it's completely deserving. It was we expected it, but it's one of my favorite nominations. I think it's a really costume design, I feel like a lot of times it's not as an exciting category. I think if Cruella winning would be an exciting win on par with like Mad Max winning for costume design, which I believe same costume designer.
Oh, really? I didn't know
I
that.
think Jenny or Janie Bevan. I'm gonna look that up. But yeah, she's
Yeah.
wonderful. And I was again, I love Cruella, and I'm very happy it got in here and hair and makeup.
Yeah, definitely. I would say the most deserving to win here. Uh, yeah, so that's pretty much it for costume design. Next up is best sound. We have Belfast, Dune, No Time to Die, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. So this is really the beginning of where we started noticing The Power of the Dog is overperforming. Here, it's doing very well. I think, like you said, it's the only movie to have overperformed, unless you count something like Nightmare Alley, but I don't think that technically counts in terms of like contending for the top spot.
I
Like movies
mean,
that are actually, it
I
definitely,
would
Nightmare Alley definitely overperforms, but I don't think it
not to the same
overperforming,
degree.
I don't think it's like a threat for anything besides maybe production design.
Yeah, no, I think an overperformance for Nightmare Alley would have included a Kate Blanchett. It would have included a like a screenplay. It would have, stuff like that.
Yeah,
So I agree with
yeah,
you. I think, but even though the picture was surprising, but we did talk about that on our final predictions thing that we did
we
with
did.
Justin. That it was on the bubble. It was just this collection of things. I think I went with the PGA. I think you went with Drive My Car. I believe.
For what?
What
For
was
picture?
your picture? What was your 10 in picture?
Picture, my final one was the Secure 8, and then I did Being the Ricardos and Drive My Car.
Yeah, so you snubbed Tick Tick Boom there, so you were
I
right
did.
on that, which again we'll get to. So yeah, I mean I think the sound category just not much to it in terms of controversy,
No.
or like surprises and shocks. I think that your belief that film editing links up with best sound is probably true, and that way Dune probably still out front. And I want to dispel this notion just because Denis didn't get into directing, I don't think affects a lot its chances in
No.
these technical categories. Christopher Nolan didn't get in for Inception. And this very much feels like that type of
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah, we'll get
Um,
to Denis. I have one reasoning as to why I think he may have missed, but it's still just like so confusing to me.
Crazy. But still, my point being is I don't think like cinematography, I still think Greg Fraser is the front runner. I still think
Yeah.
sound, visual effects,
Some of
those,
them it's just like there's nothing else that's even close, like visual effects or even sound.
yeah. And, I do wonder, and, we can talk about it here and then briefly touch it on it later. I
Yeah.
was looking it up. Peter Jackson was not nominated for Two Towers.
I
He was
noticed that
nominated,
afterwards
he was
for the
noted,
first and the third. Yeah.
first and the third, and the first one got a lot of nominations. I think 13, more nominations than Return of the King. Of course, Return of the
Yeah.
King won all 11 it was nominated for. But I do think that I do feel with the director branch growing, there might have been the knowledge of he will be back for the same thing. Let's give it to Hamaguchi. Let's give it to Spielberg. That type of mentality. But regardless, I don't think that means that the below the line categories for Dune are going to change now. I still think, for example, we're in sound here. It's going to win sound. It's not, No Time to Die isn't now just going to become the front runner because Denis
No.
missed.
Yeah, I think it'll probably still be the movie that goes home with the most Oscars, either that or Power of the Dog. It depends how good Power of the Dog does.
Yeah, I agree. It's again, we have to see how this next 7 weeks pans out for Power of the Dog.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't sense, I don't even know what there would be backlash towards for that movie. It's a pretty
Power of the
backlash.
Dog.
Yeah, pretty backlash resistant film.
The only thing I possibly could see is that if there's a movement or a discourse over the LGBT representation in the film, but I
Maybe,
feel,
but I don't think Oscar voters truly care about representation much.
yeah, I think, listen, if it's in there, which also, if it's in there, if this wins, I do think that many people, and this may actually happen, I
The
think many
Netflix part.
people might see this as like what is it, 16, 17 years later? Like this is the makeup for Brokeback Mountain in a way, because it's also
Maybe.
it's also a gay cowboy movie. I could see
Yeah.
that narrative start, and maybe that can help it. it's very interesting because I do think Power of the Dog is not your typical Oscar movie. Maybe at face
No,
value it does, but it reminds me of Phantom Thread, that you think it's going to be an Oscar movie, and then you watch it and you're like, oh boy, this is not. This is very like
artsy,
atypical,
slow.
artsy. And so that's again why I really love that it led the pack here, because it's
Yeah,
really interesting and it shows that they saw the movie and they engaged with it. Um, and we'll of course get to Jane Campion's historic record
yeah,
broken today. But anyway, moving on from Best Sound, I think we're both
yeah.
clear.
Dune's
Dune
winning.
still the front runner.
Yeah, the only snubs there would really be Spider. Not even really snubs, I would say. Spider-Man or A Quiet Place Part Two. They're not snubs. They're just the other ones that were in contention.
If you're Star Wars, you get into sound. If you're Marvel, you never get into sound.
No, they never get in. It's, yeah, very true. So best original score. Nothing too crazy here either. We have Don't Look Up, Dune, Encanto, Parallel Mothers, and The Power of the Dog. It's 5 of the top 6. I think we both had Parallel Mothers missing for French Dispatch, but French Dispatch clearly maybe was not seen enough or liked enough because it did not get it anywhere, which is a rarity for Wes Anderson. It didn't even,
Yeah,
wait, did it get production design? Never mind. I think
no, it walked. It was one of the few, which I will give them credit. It's one of the few that got nothing. Usually, it's a long list. Where this year,
yeah.
you know, Teton, The Green Knight. You know, I think they did do a nice effort of trying to spread the wealth. Like A Parallel Mothers here and score was really great. This was,
Mhm.
of course, before Best Actress.
The craziness, yeah.
But yeah, I think this is a pretty nice 5, and
Yeah.
I think it's Dune.
Yeah.
Never doubted it would be, and this would be the first Oscar win for Hans Zimmer since his only Oscar win, I
Which is
believe,
insane.
for The Lion
But
King.
yeah,
So yay for him. I'm glad he gets to.
he deserves 2 at
Oh,
least. Like probably more than that. I do think there is still a slight chance Johnny Greenwood could surprise if Power of the Dog is just that loved, but I still would very much have Dune winning.
yeah, I do think that's possible. You know, because 2018, everybody was like, "It's Nicholas Britell, it's Nicholas Britell," and then Ludwig Göransson
Yeah,
came out of nowhere for Black Panther, because I just think they were higher on that movie, which clearly they are higher on Power of the Dog than Dune, but not by much. So, but I do think that Dune goes. I think the fact that it is a legendary composer like Hans Zimmer, and if you listen to that score, it's just such a part of the immersion of the world. It's a character unto itself,
yeah,
which, granted, you could argue is the case for Johnny Greenwood's score in Power of the Dog. But I do feel that Power of the Dog is going to get a lot. I do feel that it will clean up, and it probably will. It might be the most awarded movie of the night.
maybe. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we can talk about this. I'm predicting it now for picture, director, screenplay, 1 or 2 of the actings. Like, you're already up
Yeah.
to 5. If it's either they want to spread the wealth to Dune, or they're just going up and down the ballot, which they haven't been doing recently.
No, in the
But it
wild.
doesn't mean that they won't do it this time.
True, true. It definitely did get more nominations than I think anyone expected.
Yeah.
I do also think with Johnny Greenwood, it does help in his favor that he does not have the vote splitting factor here too, because he does not have Spencer.
True, but Alexander Desplat had Imitation Game and Grand Budapest the same year,
Yeah,
and he won Grand Budapest. So
he
if
did.
they like you, they really like you. And we'll talk about this with Plemons and McPhee. This idea that splitting the vote may potentially, divert your narrative. It's not the greatest. It's not the greatest argument to have, because there's a lot of
No.
examples like him, like more we'll talk about, that it pans out the same way despite
Yeah,
that.
I'd say it only really splitting the vote happens only really when the 2 things that are both nominated are like there's not a clear one. If like they're around equal, like Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz, like not one of them wasn't like bigger than the other. So I do think they probably vote split.
See, this is, yeah, I agree with you. And this is why Olivia Colman was put in lead, because Olivia Colman and Weiss, or Olivia Colman and Stone, I think
One
it would
stands
have
out more.
been hard because they're both great. But given that Weiss and Stone are at the same level within the movie,
Mm-hmm.
then that's why, they didn't do, because I think if, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's all about, where to put your talent. And yeah, so.
Next up is Best Adapted Screenplay. Nothing too crazy here either. Coda, Drive My Car, Dune, The Lost Daughter, and Power the Dog. 5 of the top 6. West Side Story being the one that was snubbed, which is sad because I do like Tony Kushner's reinvention of it. But yeah, I'm happy for Drive My Car, which I
Yeah,
haven't
really
seen.
happy. The most nominations for any film from Japan, I
Yeah,
believe. So that's great. And I listen. I hope they push the film out now that it gets a bigger footprint now with these nominations. I mean, it's it's really great. This was a really great move on the Academy to represent this film and to get it in a conversation. We're going to talk about original screenplay or worst person in the world. These are really
yeah.
I mean, honestly, I felt like there was less I mean, among Gaga fans, there was a lot of upset, and
There
some
was
Spider-Man fans that were upset.
lost the
Um,
memo that it lost all its what do you call it, buzz like 2 weeks back. But
yeah, listen. I'm the biggest fan of the MCU you can have, like you could be. Like it's not this type of movie. It's not a Black Panther. It's not a
no,
WandaVision. And it's not an Avengers Endgame. It doesn't represent this achievement. It was a really great, probably once in a lifetime cinematic experience. But that's
yeah,
not what the Oscars are for. The money is the reward for Spider-Man.
yeah. I do think maybe in an Academy like 20 years ago, it would have had a better shot of getting in. I do think with the recent additions, as we've seen the nominations, especially the past few years, I believe in the past few years, they've gone from like 6,000 to 9,000, a lot of that being more international people. So I do think it doesn't stand as much of a chance with that crowd than it does maybe it would have had when it was a
But
smaller pool.
even so, like the why we love the MCU is because it's so interconnected, which means that people who aren't into it or don't like aren't caught up, they're not going to have the same emotional impact that the rest of us have. It's not the same
Yeah.
as Spider-Man 2. You don't have that much homework, and you probably know the origin from the last 40 years of your life. It's been ingrained into you, like that the Hulk and Batman and Superman. You probably know. It's like I
Yeah.
call them Darth Vader syndrome, where I feel like many people nowadays are just born and they can't remember when they found out that Darth Vader was Luke's father.
Yeah. I
Those are
wish
those
I
stories.
knew.
But so just my point is just like these movies won't have the same impact independently because they're part of this grand experiment. It's the reason why often, you know, like again, Dune and Lord of the Rings are independent, are separate from this because they're parts of a defined story that has an endpoint from
Hmm.
page one.
Yeah.
Marvel isn't that. Kevin Feige knows where he's going, but nobody else does. And so that's why I feel like it's not going to get the same recognition because it doesn't have the same impact on non-MCU fans, which many of the Academy are. I mean,
Hmm.
it should be noted, you look at something like Martin Scorsese writing his love for Nightmare Alley, I
Yeah.
believe in the Los Angeles Times like 2 weeks ago, last week, pops into
Hmm.
Best Picture. Bong Joon-ho said
Yeah.
one of his favorite movies. Pops in, gets all 3 nominations. That's what the Academy is there for, and that's what films are going to make the impact. Spider-Man and movies of that nature, again, except for the rare Black Panthers, and I felt like Avengers Endgame because that represented an achievement that cinematic filmmaking hadn't done before. Those are what the Academy could and should represent. Spider-Man was a lot of fun. It's not this
Yeah.
type of movie.
Indeed. The money is the reward. And then
Yes.
in terms of winning here, I think Power of the Dog, correct?
For adapt screenplay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maggie
There's nothing
Gyllenhaal,
strong enough to upset it.
yeah, Maggie Gyllenhaal would have to pull a hell of a campaign to take this away.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I will say we thought that Chloe Zhao was going to go like
I
three.
didn't though. I predicted The Father a while
All
previously.
right, you were very smart, but I'm just saying, I think
Yeah, I
it
just left
wasn't
that for
only
me.
till like the end of the season where people were like, you know what? I think the
It was
father's it.
after the BAFTAs, yeah.
So let's see, because I could see, Maggie Gyllenhaal has been showing up a lot of places. She got a Golden Globe
She
nomination
has.
for Best Director. She, as far as like your indie circuit, it's one of the more well-beloved movies. I think the Buckley nomination shows that that people like the movie a lot, that it got in somewhere where we weren't expecting. So if the right campaign builds, I could see her doing that if they already feel they're going to give it to Campion um, for director. I could see
Yeah.
that happening. The other ones, I don't know yet. But again, I could make the same argument in that if Campion is such a lock like Zhao was last year, I could see a
Hmm.
world where they're like, let's spread the wealth.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I would say Lost Star is probably most likely of those, but who knows? Maybe Drive My Car. Maybe they're like Villeneuve got snubbed, so let's give him one for Dune. Probably not. I wish.
It should be noted that Power of the Dog is the only film this Academy Awards to be nominated for picture, directing, acting, writing, and editing. Let's go leave that here.
Yeah,
It's the only one.
it's definitely the front runner.
Yeah. And just the one note I wanted to make. This isn't also a scenario like Parasite where there were two people nominated. It wasn't just Bong Joon-ho. Jane Campion is the sole writer and director. So there isn't like a writing partner that we also want to recognize for their work on this movie. It's just her in both categories.
Mm-hmm. She's gonna get a lot of Oscars. Yeah. So best original screenplay. We got Belfast, we got Don't Look Up, we got King Richard, Licorice Pizza, and The Worst Person in the World, taking being the Ricardo's spot. That is a happy reaction, a good decision. I haven't even seen the movie, but I know it's better written than being the Ricardos. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to make comments before I see movies, but yeah. But I mean, it was a wonderful place, I think, to honor this film. And yeah, I took now that Licorice Pizza has been nominated for Oscars, I saw a lot of people like the people who hated Licorice Pizza and like called it out for like pedophilia. Like I saw those tweets starting to merge. I was like, oh dear.
So did I. Yeah.
I
It
can't wait.
underperformed too. Licorice
Yeah.
Pizza.
With acting, I don't think and it didn't get editing, I believe.
Yeah.
So those two.
Which is why I would still say Belfast is winning this.
This is Paul Thomas Anderson's 11th nomination. I think he's
I don't
due.
think this is the movie for it, though. I think clearly it's not beloved enough.
I mean, his contributions are beloved enough. He got if he missed one of the three, then I would agree with you. But he got in for directing, writing, and for picture. To me, that represents, if anything, they love what he singularly brought to the movie, and they think it's about time he wins. Like that's what I see this as. And because you also can't ignore Belfast missed a lot of categories as well, and those are categories that are more on Branagh's hands in terms of his control of those aesthetic components.
Yeah, I still think Belfast was in more contention in a lot of those categories than Licorice Pizza was. I don't think it was even in the conversation for a lot of those.
True. I mean, well, it's definitely the race between those
it's
two.
Those two. Yeah.
But I will continue to side with Licorice Pizza because I also think if it's between who do we want to honor, I think there are more people that want to honor Paul Thomas Anderson than Kenneth Branagh. Personally, I just feel that, and I also feel that Branagh. I feel like if you want to support Branagh, I don't think there's a clear majority of where to do it. Like you could honor him in director or writer. With Paul Thomas Anderson, I think if you want to honor him, you're going to the script because it's like that was, I think, the best part of the movie was his screenplay. And so I also sense that as well.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. It's down to those two. As for the shorts, animated short was Affairs of the Art, Bestia, Box Ballet, Robin, and Windshield Wiper. Obviously, the big snub being Us Again, which I think most people expected to win. Insane.
Because it was the only one anybody knew.
That's the only one I knew of. Yeah, I heard of Robin, but the rest, I don't. I have no clue who's going to win now. Maybe Robin, because
Robin, I think, because they like their movies about animals.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, the one from Encanto. I don't know if they had to submit it, like the one that was in front of Encanto with the raccoons on the beach. That was a nice one.
I have not seen that. Yeah.
It's on Disney Plus. I think it's called like Far from a Tree. It was cute. It was no dialogue. But yeah, I was surprised. Again, you know, because these Disney shorts usually, because just they're well seen. They're on the second most popular streaming service. They are in front of movies that people see. So it's like you would think they would. I was shocked. Maybe because Us Again, like, just didn't have the same footprint because Raya didn't have the same footprint.
Maybe, yeah.
Is my only. But even then, like Kit Bull was like a Spark short. I think only seen on Disney Plus, and that got it. So you don't need to be attached to the big movie to get the awareness, I feel. So maybe this was just like Disney didn't campaign as much. Maybe they were more
Yeah.
focused on making sure they got all three of their
Yeah,
animated
maybe
features
it's
in.
they got all three. They're like, we're giving them all three in there, so they don't need this. They don't
Because
think that way.
that is, I believe, the first time that's ever happened, where they've gotten two Disney movies and a Pixar movie.
Oh, yes, definitely. I don't think that's ever
Finding
happened.
Dory missed out the year of Moana and Zootopia, which would have given it to them.
Yeah,
So I mean that's a huge achievement. Animation had a
it
lot of
is.
big wings today, and I think Disney feels good. I mean, Shang-Chi got a nomination. Their co-produced Spider-Man got a nomination. The fact they got two Marvel movies in visual effects, that we were not predicting that. I don't think many people
No,
were. Um,
only second
it-
time ever.
yeah, which the first was Guardians and Winter
And
Soldier.
Winter Soldier. Yeah,
Okay, and then yeah, which X-Men was also, I believe, in that year, right?
I
Which
believe so. I forget though.
three Marvel property movies, two MCU movies. But yeah, I think Disney is pretty, and also their Fox movies, Nightmare Alley and West Side
West
Story
Side.
got in there. Two movies
Yeah,
that didn't have the box office footprint they were expecting, but they did manage to get to Best Picture. I think
it's
Disney
a
had
good
a pretty
turnout.
good morning, all things considered.
They did. Yeah, Netflix had the best morning, but Disney also had a good morning.
Which, do you think this is the year? Well, let's save that for Best Picture. But I think
I think it is,
they
but
may
yes,
finally get it.
God, who knows? Maybe they're cursed. Best live action short. I have no clue with these either. A la Kachu, Take and Run, The Dress, The Long Goodbye, On My Mind, and Please Hold. Um,
Is the dress about the dress from 2015 that divided everybody?
Black and
About
white, or the
yeah,
black and blue, or golden and white. I
that's
wish
what it's about. It's
that would be a documentary short, maybe.
oh yes, true.
Yeah. So I have
Uh,
no clue here what's gonna win. I just went with the Gold Derby 5, and I forget what that even was now. So
but I'm excited to check them out again when they
yeah,
package them together and they put them in theaters. And you definitely should go do it. It's to see these films. I remember. It of course has sad memory now, but I remember I went to go see John Williams conduct the LA Philharmonic, and he brought on Kobe Bryant, and I got to see
mm,
Dear Basketball, which was his Oscar-winning short. And I believe he narrated it in person as John Williams conducted his score, and it was just beautiful. It was before the thing got released, and so these shorts can have the same impact. I mean, that's a special moment, but these shorts can have the
yeah,
same impact as any of the narrative features. So check them out
yeah,
when they're.
definitely. I wish my
It's somewhere
theaters
on
around me
YouTube
did
too.
that.
Somewhere on YouTube. Check those out
Yeah,
on YouTube if you can.
YouTube, Vimeo, various places. Um, okay, best supporting actor. We've got Kieran Hines, which they pronounced oddly. I don't know if you saw it in the reaction. I was like, "Who is this?" But it was Kieran Hines from Belfast.
Where's
Uh,
Snoop Dogg? We need Snoop
yeah,
Dogg to help us.
we needed him to say Dennis Villanueva,
Yeah,
but
it
he
sounds
wouldn't have
like
been
an
able to say
ice
it
cream
anyway.
flavor.
It does. Dennis Villanueva. Yeah, but we got Kieran Hines, Troy Kotzer, Jesse Plemons, J.K. Simmons, and Cody Smith McPhee. Obviously, the big surprises being Plemons and Simmons. Simmons more so than Plemons. I do think Plemons was like in a top 7 probably. Um,
Well, Plemons had the BAFTA nomination, right?
he did, and I think Simmons only had Critics' Choice nomination.
Which, of course, they go beyond 5, so it's
They do.
always like tough with the Critics' Choice. Yeah, Simmons. I was talking. I didn't predict him, but I did say that he could spoil the party
He could.
because
He could
he's
have. And he did.
and why people were like, why did he get in? How did he get in? He's in the club. They love J.K. Simmons, and I think despite being Ricardo's not getting into picture or screenplay, which I think that represented people's dissatisfaction with Aaron Sorkin's work. They love
Yeah.
the cast because they love the people, and the cast did a good job of playing the people. And
Which
so I think
is
that's why they got it.
what I find surprising about that, since it overperformed today in the acting categories, getting in this third extra person. I'm surprised it didn't get in ensemble at SAG.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, really? Like, what happened?
Yeah, it's a very not like person for person, but it is a similar voting body. Like these are the actors who are voting on who gets nominated here.
But
So
let's say that Plemons took the Bradley Cooper spot. Let's just, for the sake of this argument, I know like you
yeah,
can't correlate like one nominee to another, but let's just say that. if you're not, if as I said at the top, when you vote for the Oscars, you have a different mindset. If you're looking at J.K. Simmons and Jared Leto, I do think you're going to side to J.K. Simmons because it's. I do think it's a better performance because it fits the movie better. It
Yeah,
serves the film better. It supports the film better. So I do think that's probably what happened is that with SAG, and also SAG is much like bigger in terms of,
it is much larger. Yeah,
and they're not all people within the
they're not all actors. There's like
industry.
podcasters, influencers. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's the other thing too, is as I was saying with Jared Leto, a lot of people really was entertained by him for the wrong reasons, but
yeah,
they were entertained and they voted for him for these other awards.
yeah.
Where I think
House of Gucci did do good there, been terrible here.
yeah.
So
So anyway, so that's what I think that's what happened with J.K. Simmons. So everybody thinking that Cody Smith McPhee now is screwed because Jesse Plemons is in this category.
that's not the
Daniel
reason why.
Kaluuya won last year
He did. It's very similar.
amidst the Lakeith Stanfield surprise nomination. Cody is fine. It's not going to change his nomination. I do think that Troy Kotsur still has a chance to win.
He's gonna win.
I think he is to Cody what Kirsten is to Ariana. I think honestly, we're all thinking Cody's going to be the acting person for Power the Dog. I think it could switch and it goes to Kirsten and Troy Kotsur.
Yeah, I would see Troy Kotsur and Coda in general. I think Coda is kind of like Minari, maybe a little bit, except it's not quite as big. I do think he could kind of be like the Ye Jung Yoon win.
Yeah, I think they're very
So.
similar narratives, and it would be. I mean, I believe he's the first deaf male to be nominated, which is wonderful.
Probably, yeah.
I was looking all over. It's like Sean Heder. Where is his reaction?
Oh yeah,
because she posted his BAFTA.
he didn't like that she posted it though, so maybe he's told her not to.
Oh, he did it. Oh,
he replied like, "I wish you didn't post this."
it's so lovely. I think it's because of the falling on the chair.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was he just needs to be sitting on a couch. And then I saw Jessica Chastain finding out she won. And I always love those.
Oh, I'll have to watch that. Yeah.
Thomas Vinterberg and Spike Lee. It's always wonderful when you get the surprise. Even if it's not a surprise, it's special to be nominated for an Oscar. But yeah, I could see switch. Troy gets nominated here. It's an impassioned pick. Of course, it's a very emotional performance compared to Cody's more understated nuances, which are worthy. And he would be the ingenue. I think he is the ingenue of the year. It's cool to see that it's a male this time.
Yeah, which is rare, which is why I still, oh, bless you. I still don't, I don't know. I just still don't see it happening. But also, we haven't had any of the major broadcast awards. It's been mostly critics who've been giving out winners so far outside of the Golden Globes. So,
and I think that's contributing because I think a reason why a lot of people think this is more open than most seasons is because we didn't get the Globes. We didn't get this crop in front of the camera accepting awards. And I think not seeing that, your brain not recognizing that it's changing how you look at these things. Because I do think that had Cody given a speech, I think a lot of people maybe would be more convinced that he's going to win.
I don't know how good of a speech giver he would be, to be honest.
Well, we don't know until
just speculating. Yeah.
Let's wait for the SAG Awards.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just a point. I do think when SAG comes in, we may be able to iron it. But I also think I could see SAG going Will Smith, which we'll talk to, and then maybe. Again, the Oscars going Benedict because I do think the Academy at large respected Power of the Dog more than the SAGs did, not by much.
Yeah, definitely.
Because everybody besides Plemons got in individual categories, which is it's similar to La La Land, and granted, La La Land didn't win Best Picture, but it's like Emma Stone.
It did for a few seconds.
Yeah. What John Legend that he's going to justify taking the spot from like a Hidden Figures or a Moonlight? No. So. Yeah, it's interesting, but I think Troy's a very endearing performer. I think that performance, he is asked to do a lot. It's a very comedic, it would be a comedic performance, which I think we don't see a lot of those.
Yeah, which Yo Jung Yoon kind of was as well.
Kind of, but this is, I think, more,
it leans more comedic, yes.
Yeah, and, he walks the line between comedy and drama. And he's also.
I honestly think he's kind of the heart of the film, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I think he is. yeah, and this may be where Coda it gets its love because I don't think it's getting it in anywhere else.
No.
Um, and so I could definitely see Troy Kotzer winning, especially because you just have to watch that scene. You just
Yeah.
watch the scene on the truck, and when
Yeah.
he puts his hands on her vocal
That's his
cord,
clip. I don't think
that's his
Cody.
clip.
What are they gonna play for Cody? I don't. He has many great like moments, but they're not
Well,
like
it's not a
Oscar.
show. That's why it's so interesting that he was
Yeah.
like he is deemed the front runner because it's not the again like Power of the Dog overall. It's not your typical Oscar movie, and the fact that it's so well represented here is surprising, and I admire them for it.
I'm gonna
So
be fascinated to see if they better do acting clips this year because I missed them greatly
okay.
last year. But I'm gonna be very interested to see what they pick for Jesse Plemons and Cody Smith McPhee here. It's like, or just like, there's nothing that it's like, oh yeah, that's like typical.
I
Like,
imagine
yeah,
Clemens is when he asks out Kirsten Dunst.
probably,
That's probably the one.
yeah,
Kirsten Dunst is the one when she can't play the piano, and Benedict Cumberbatch is
definitely.
probably when he's
He's
yelling
the
at
yelling
Jesse
one. Yeah,
Clemens.
they
Um,
definitely have more showy moments. Those two.
yeah. Um, so anyway, so that's why I think it's really
Yeah,
interesting to see what these. I do think it's these two, and
yeah,
am I do think that Kotzer winning and Dunst winning is a very is I think that could be the possibility.
yeah. Just want to say, pour one out for Mike Faced. I predicted him. He was deserving. He honestly should be winning this. I like him more than anyone else here. And also pour one out for Ruth Negga in supporting actress, who I also thought was amazing, and I forgot to mention.
Well, you love Mike Face because he's your long lost twin.
Yeah. No,
You both.
he's people think he's what's his name? The Oscar expert's twin. So I'm apparently, like you said, Harris Dickinson's twin. So I'll
Oh
take
yes,
that.
you're Harris.
Yes.
You're
I
all
can't have
one
too
big
many
happy
twins.
family.
We're yeah, yeah. They're a little bit more successful than me. Just a little.
Harris
I'm the I'm
Dickinson.
the yeah, I'm the black lamb of the family, obviously. Um so now into best editing, which was I think there were like 8 movies that we all like thought could be nominated here. We got Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, Power of the Dog, and Tick Tick Boom. I told you all Don't Look Up was going to happen because Vice and what's his else, Big Short also got in. It's very showy. King Richard did kind of surprise me. I saw some people predicting that. I didn't think it was going to happen because it didn't get shortlisted in a lot of the sound categories at different places, and I just always rely on that correlation. But apparently that didn't happen this year. Power of the Dog. Some people thought it was too slow, but it's getting it everywhere. I think obviously the big snubs being Belfast and West Side Story. This is a big
Yeah,
hit for Belfast in particular, I'd say.
yeah, I would agree because yeah, I think both. I mean, both are big snubs.
Yeah, I
Um,
think people were kind of expecting West Side Story more so because of it was missing
I mean,
precursors.
it's a musical, and I guarantee you it won this category in 1962.
Probably,
Like
yeah.
1961 movie, of course, up for the Oscars in
Yeah.
1962. By the way, it should note that Screenplay has always ruined West Side Story because out of the 11 nominations the original had, it lost one, and it was Screenplay. So
Indeed.
it kept it from the record of Return of the King, Titanic, and Ben-Hur. I think that's
I
the
believe it's
three
Ben
at
Hur, yes.
11. Um, so, but yeah, as far as editing goes, Power of the Dog, again, great to see it in here.
Yeah.
Tick Tick Boom. I saw a funny
Yeah.
tweet that said it follows the I, Tanya route of getting acting and editing. And I guess this is just what happens when you have a comma in the title of your movie.
Yeah, I
Uh,
saw that tweet too. Yeah.
yeah,
Don't
it
put
was
commas
fun.
in your movies, guys. Or
Yeah.
dots. It's confusing.
Yeah, I think it was the Oscar export. I also,
Probably, yeah.
yeah, it's probably him, who I will watch his reactions as soon as we're done.
Yeah. I'm
I
sure there will
think
be plenty of screaming
yes.
of us reacting.
The other funny tweet I saw was that somebody said, "Hey, Oscars, you know you can nominate more than one musical. It's all right."
Yeah.
Um,
Seriously.
but yeah, as far as editing goes, I still don't know what to do with this category in terms of what
It's
they're going to
Dune.
be in. There's no Ford v Ferrari. However, I do think that the technical craft of Dune will probably they'll lead in that direction.
Yeah. If West Side Story got here, I would think it would probably be its biggest competition because of the sound correlation. I don't see Power of the Dog or King Richard or Don't Look Up happening at
Mm-hmm.
all. Or Tick Tick Boom. So I say Dune.
Yeah. And I mean, it should be noted because you talked about like the reason why I wasn't picking Don't Look Up is just because how critically like maligned it was. it is the first Best Picture nominee since 2011's Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close to be rotten on Rotten Tomatoes and get a Best
Yeah,
Picture
that's
nomination,
crazy.
which is insane. I think there's less credence to that just because this movie is divisive by nature, where Extremely Loud was just, I think, poorly received. Like, there's a
Yeah,
difference in terms of what the rotten is. Everybody knows on this channel. If you don't, just click a couple of videos
we
ago
had a
and
nice
find our
discussion.
discussion. I hated the movie. I don't
It's
like it.
it's lowering day by day for me too. I would definitely not give it the score I gave it, but
No, and I
I would
wouldn't.
still slightly lean positive.
Yeah, but so and listen, I acknowledge that climate change is happening. It is not because of that.
That's not the reason. Yeah.
I hate the narrative that if you hate the movie, you are a climate denialist. But you
Hmm.
know that's Twitter for you.
Yeah,
Um,
that is.
but yeah, again, surprised to see it in here. Not, I mean, this is again the same. I was saying it the past couple of episodes. This is the same branch that gave a win to Bohemian Rhapsody. They make some interesting choices, to put it lightly.
Definitely. Next up, best makeup and hairstyling. One of the few I went 5 out of 5 for. Coming to America, Cruella, Dune, Eyes of Tammy Faye, House of Gucci. Nothing crazy there. Coming to
Yeah,
America did have a late surge of people jumping on board
I
because of that
think
old people.
that best actor and best animated feature were my 5 for 5s this morning. Um,
Yes.
thank you, Javier Bardem, for pulling through.
Yeah.
And yeah, as far as this, I hope Tammy Faye can mount a campaign. It's
Yeah.
better makeup than Jared Leto. It is more valued in terms of what that work is doing in terms of telling the story, both across the decades and changing Tammy Faye's appearance to match the times, but also I think there's a lot about appearance. Like the whole movie is about her appearance and how she expresses herself, and the makeup is so needed. I would argue is more needed than Vice or Bombshell or Darkest Hour. Like it's a part of the movie that is needed. It's not just to make Jessica Chastain disappear to win an Oscar. It's to
It shows a clear arc in her character. Like by the end,
exactly,
she's got like permanent eyebrows and lipstick
yeah.
and such.
Like I think like that would be like a deserving. This isn't just it's a biopic and she disappeared. Like this would be a deserving win. The same cannot be said for House of Gucci, and the fact that it didn't get in anywhere else makes me think that Tammy
Yeah.
Faye will get it because they're going to watch Tammy Faye. Like even if you don't let's like Cruella got one other nomination. Granted, it's going to probably win in that other category, so they might be like, we're good. And besides, it's usually the makeup than the hair, and I think
They
Cruella's
don't
more
think about hair
hair.
much now.
So yeah, I hope it can do it. I think it can do it, and it would be really great to see it in here.
Yeah. Justin did make that nice comparison when we were doing our predictions of House of Gucci to Bombshell, but it didn't perform like Bombshell come nominations because it didn't get either of the actors in. So I I don't think House of Gucci can win this. Maybe it can. Maybe it can be a like Suicide Squad that was its only nomination and it still won.
Yeah.
Um, I think Dune still has a shot here too. Probably
But what like
still on
what
Skarsgård.
Yeah, okay. But I like that's the type of thing with 1917. I'm like, I would consider that like a visual effect. Like
Yeah,
I know it's makeup, but the same way that we honored and granted I've got on my soapbox saying it should have won best film editing and not best visual effects, and Endgame should have won best visual effects, but I digress. Um, but just point being, I think if we're already honoring the visual prowess of the movie, I think that's where you do it. And that
yeah,
I'm not the biggest fan of honoring films for the same type of thing in two categories. Like,
yeah.
let's spread the love if we can, because there's, of course, more than one deserving nominee. And if we're already giving an Oscar to that movie there, like, and besides, if you're comparing, I do think Tammy Faye is a better makeup than Stellan Skarsgård,
It is.
one
Yeah,
to one.
yeah.
Both great.
Did Mad Max win makeup and hairstyling?
Yes, it won
Yeah.
6. It lost cinematography to The Revenant and
Mhm.
Emmanuel Lubezki's 3-year in a row hat trick. But it
Yeah.
won, I believe it won film editing, costume design, production design,
Visual effects.
visual
Mm,
effects, I
yeah, it
think.
did
I'm
get
going to pull
visual.
it up. And then sound and makeup. I think that was the 6.
That makes sense.
All
I
deserving.
mean,
Should have won Best Director.
it
But
should have definitely over
um,
Inarito.
yeah. I think
I
I think Spotlight should have won Best Picture. I still am a
yeah,
fan of that.
I do really like Spotlight.
I
Did
love
you know
Spotlight.
Spotlight is the last movie to have been nominated for Best Picture that my parents have seen.
That's crazy.
Insane.
It's a great
It's
film.
very good.
If you don't know, we're on the Council podcast, also on
We
YouTube,
are.
and we just did a episode talking about. We reviewed Nightmare Alley, which we were saying we didn't think was going to get a Best Picture nomination.
Alas.
You'll get to hear us tomorrow talk about how we were wrong.
Yeah.
But then the second half of the
Nice
episode, we
surprise.
talked about biggest Oscar snubs and also biggest Oscar like delights. And I talked about Spotlight being one of my favorite Oscar wins for Best Picture. So check us
Yeah.
out over there.
Yeah. Comes out tomorrow, I believe.
Yes. So yeah, we release on Wednesdays. Let me just check. Let's see. Accolades. Mad Max. This is, of course, useless information for our conversation today, but I am down. This is the sunk cost fallacy. Sound mixing, sound editing, production design, makeup and hair, film editing, and costume design. Did not win visual effects. Visual effects went to, I believe, Ex Machina.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
That's a good win. I like that win.
That was a great Revenant, Star Wars, The Force Awakens, The Martian, Mad Max, and Ex Machina. That was a really good visual effects category.
That's a very good lineup. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just bringing it up because Dune is very Mad Max-esque, but I do think Mad Max probably did have better makeup, more showy makeup. So yeah. I want
to pose something to you just now that I'm looking at this, because I'm on the visual effects page for Wikipedia, and then we can get back to our discussion. Given we just talked about Spider-Man, I'm looking at this. So Force Awakens, Rogue One, Last Jedi, Solo, and Rise of Skywalker, all of them got visual effects nominations.
Yes.
Boom, boom. I do think that Star Wars has a greater favorability within the Academy, and it gets nominated, I think, every time a Star Wars movie comes out.
It's more beloved, yeah.
Do you think that 10, 15 years from now, Marvel will have that? That there will be the rising... No. Okay.
No, I think they're hitting their peak right now. I think at the rate they're going, I think they'll hit oversaturation before they hit people like beginning to grow on it, I would say.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, of course, Star Wars started and stopped, so there was breathing room, and
yeah, they don't have like 3 movies and 4 shows a year with Star Wars.
No.
As much as I'd like that, but no.
It's an interesting thing. I don't know if I talked about it here, but of course, the whole Star Wars is cinema. The Marvel isn't cinema. That was happening with Star Wars, and people like Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel defended George Lucas, saying it was. So it does seem that it's following some sort of path, and I'm wondering if we'll ever get to a point where it is respected. The same way that like the prequels were hated, but then the kids who grew up with the prequels have Twitter accounts now and then share their love for it. Like the next generation admires what the previous generation didn't. So just something to note, given that I looked and it was like every year Star Wars was nominated.
I think if they do something very special, they'll be acknowledged, but I don't think the franchise as a whole will have like this like beloved feeling to it.
Yeah, I guess because, even something like Solo, like I feel like every movie like for Star Wars is special, where like Marvel, it's so recent and they don't stop that like Ant-Man, like Ant-Man and the Wasp is like not like, that's, Marvel.
Not that good.
I guarantee. Well,
I don't like it.
I've seen a lot worse comic book movies.
True.
But I guess, I guess the specialness of these releases don't correlate. And even if they do, I would argue that the craft of Star Wars is better than the craft of
it also doesn't have to compete with itself, which Marvel has to do every year.
True, that as well. Like the movies look better. And despite what anybody probably has to say about the sequel trilogy, I think the look of those movies and the cinematography
beautiful, especially
unreal.
Last Jedi. Yeah.
I mean, all of them are great. I love the blues of Rise of Skywalker. So anyway, just fun visual effects talk. It's a category that doesn't get a lot
right before we get to it in a few bits. Right now, best animated film. I think most people went 5 for 5 with this. Encanto, Flea, Luca, Mitchells versus the Machines, Raya and the Last Dragon. Nothing too crazy.
So let's have this conversation that happens every year, and I think it's a fruitless conversation most years, but we're going to do it anyway. Because everybody's like, is this the year that Disney misses? And then Disney never misses. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
They've got 3 of 5 here.
Is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse what was the
I believe Rango, I believe.
Rango, I think, was Cars 2, right?
I believe
that year. Disney has won every other year. So anyway, point being, I usually find it ridiculous that they have that conversation because it's like it's not going to lose. It's just
People
more
don't think
fun.
of it that way either.
Encanto is just bigger. It's wider appeal. It's seen more. It's on the rise thanks to Disney Plus. The soundtrack is killing it.
Yeah.
Um,
And most of these
but
voters are adults who probably have kids and they're probably playing it on repeat in their house.
but Flea is a rare movie because it got 3 nominations, record-breaking nominations, and I do
I
think
think
that
that hurts it more than it helps it, honestly. I think it's vote splitting itself. Like if someone's like, oh, I'm going to give it animated, but I'm not going to give it documentary or international or.
interesting. Okay. I mean, I still think Encanto, but I just think out of all of the possible like Disney could lose to this, I think Flea is one of the ones that I give more credence to than like a Missing Link or a Klaus or a
Yeah,
um
I did think Klaus had a shot, but
so anyway, yeah, I think Encanto will continue its streak and
yeah,
will win one, maybe 2 Oscars.
maybe two. We'll have to
We
see.
shall get to it.
I'm rooting for Mitchell's, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm happy it didn't get snubbed. I'll just take that.
Yeah.
Um, Best original song, we've got Be Alive, King Richard, Dos Orguitas, Encanto, Down to Joy, Belfast, No Time to Die, No Time to Die, and Somehow You Do from Four Good Days, you know, good old Diane Warren getting, I believe, her 13th nomination and her 13th
Yes.
loss this year, which
Unfortunately.
it will be.
Uh, let's just say this in communion with everybody on three. 1, 2, 3. What is Four Good Days? I don't know what this movie is.
Oh yeah, I believe it's a documentary. That's usually what she sings too. She likes
Wonderful.
songs.
Yeah. So now this is interesting. First off, no
No
Ariana
Time to Die
Grande for
or
Don't Look
Encanto.
Up.
Yeah,
Um, interesting that she got snubbed, but you know,
I do think I've seen people say it was like too much of a parody song, which they don't usually like to get in. Like the Borat song last year was kind of like a parody song and didn't get in.
yeah. And then you look at like Eurovision. Husavik was the one over like Double Trouble or Yeah Yeah Ding Dong, which all three of
Yeah,
them I would have nominated in a heartbeat
yeah.
over.
Husavik is the most serious though out of those, I would say.
And should have won.
It should have.
Um, Still not over that. It's interesting though. I've on the Oscar, telecast that was happening. They had little fun facts, and apparently you can't be nominated for 3 original songs anymore. The most you could get is
Oh,
2. So that's just
like a single movie can
yeah.
only
So
get two.
Beauty and the
Oh,
Beast, Little Mermaid, I think got 3, maybe not. Yeah, I think I got 3. Little Mermaid, Beauty and
I
the
have no
Beast, and
clue.
Enchanted, and Lion King. Maybe Little Mermaid. I know Part of Your World didn't, so maybe that didn't get 3 because Part of Your World missed infamously.
Mm.
Didn't even get nominated. But I know Beauty and the Beast got 3, and I know Enchanted got 3.
Oh wow.
So anyway, that can't happen anymore, which I thought was
No.
interesting.
Encanto would deserve 3, to be honest.
Yes, I would have
Throw in
nominated.
Surface Pressure and We Don't Talk About Bruno.
So this is my question. Will people, first off, I do think there's a lot of maybe like in the same way that we saw pre-nomination Frozen 2, post-nomination Rocket Man kind of just like change the narrative and then go for the
Yeah,
win. Same thing could happen here. Do we think people, and I do think this is well-known information, do we think people know that Lin this is his EGOT and they will pick him for that, but also pick him because they are technically voting for Bruno with this nomination?
I think I don't think most people are going to be voting to give Lin an EGOT. I think if people are voting for it, it's because they like the movie's music overall. And maybe
Overall.
I mean that it's a good song too. So it
Yeah, it's
probably
great.
is plenty of people's favorites still.
No, and I want to take back something I said in a previous episode. I have listened to the song again. I've watched the movie again, and it's a beautiful, lovely song. I also was
It
able
is.
to
It's just
find,
not as catchy.
yeah, it's in it, which I respect that in Encanto, the variety of the
Yeah.
music that matches the variety of the characters singing it. It's a beautifully musically composed and constructed piece. Um, just I wonder if you look at the year he had with Vivo, but In the Heights, which I still think people remember slightly, even though it
Yeah.
showed up
I
nowhere
wish
here.
that movie was in the conversation, but sadly
Yes,
not.
definitely. Tick Tick Boom and Encanto, it might be a way to honor the year that he had, and I do think that it would be one of I think it would be a great speech. He gives great speeches, and
He would.
it could also be like what Coco happened, representative of the movie itself. That being said, Spectre won, Skyfall won. It seems that the Craig Bond movies have a track record, and Billie Eilish is, of course, the hot thing right now.
Yeah.
So
I also
I do think it's those two.
It's those two. Yeah, I don't think Beyonce really has a shot anymore.
Her first
I
nomination.
Yeah, good for her. I'm sure she'll win one eventually for a song.
Good for Beyonce. She really needed this.
She really needed this today. Yeah, she was going downhill. Yeah, one thing I noticed is a lot of the times when when a song wins here, a lot of times, like last year, I believe the song from Judas and the Black Messiah, was the only one of those nominated songs that was also nominated at the Grammys. So I find that those movies, when I was looking at it, often win more than movies that weren't nominated at the songs that weren't nominated at the Grammys. And No Time to Die was nominated at the Grammys. None of these other ones were.
Not Encanto.
No.
Not even for Visual Media Award, whatever that.
I don't believe this specific song was. I don't know if it was
also,
in general.
No Time to Die probably got nominated because it was released like 2 years ago. All right, so
a while ago.
I don't know if Encanto has gotten up. Like
it might have not happened yet. Yeah, that's true.
That's possible. Because again, we're on the council. We did an award show, and No Time to Die was up last year for Best Original Song and won. And I'm still. It's like,
again this year.
The OCD in my head was like, no.
Yeah. Oscars did it right.
But anyway, point being, I do think that No Time to Die still could win this. And regardless, it is the performance I'm most looking forward to at the Oscars.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
There'll be nice performances. Usually I'm not super excited for the song performances, but this is a good lineup.
Yeah.
But they could sneak in a We Don't Talk About Bruno.
Can that be the opening number, please?
Yeah.
I don't think we would mind. I think all of us would be like,
or we don't need to hear Down to Joy.
We do. You can save Dos Oruguitas, but just start with Bruno or do a medley. Yeah. Do what they did with La La Land, but but yeah, listen, I love them both, and I love both people, Billie Eilish and Lin-Manuel Miranda, so much. I respect them so much as musicians and creative people. I would be completely fine with either of them winning because these are two great songs that are in the movie.
They are. That's important.
Yes.
Okay, so now Best Documentary Short. We had Audible, Lead Me Home, The Queen of Basketball, 3 songs for Benazir, and When We Were Bullies. Anything here? Maybe Queen of Basketball will win. That sounds like something that would win.
Yeah, it's always funny. Like, are they voting because they've seen them, or are they voting based on the title? So we'll probably get into these. I think the two of us will try to see these before
as much as I can.
Predictions, and we'll give our perspective on them. Given
who will win,
yeah. So
definitely,
yeah. Again, as I said before, interested to see them. Hopefully, some of them are on YouTube or will be packaged and put in theaters, and we can all get a chance to see these works.
Yeah, and congrats to all involved.
Yeah.
Best Documentary: Ascension, Attica, Flea, Summer of Soul, and Writing with Fire.
Woo! Know the Rescue, which I haven't seen, but I've heard a lot of great things. It's on Disney Plus. I intend to see it. But yeah, happy that Summer of Soul got in there. I do think that the documentaries that feature an editing triumph, like Apollo 11, that missed.
It did. Also, archival.
That could result in this not winning, I think, is possible. But the movie that everybody thought would win instead is The Rescue.
I think it's going to win now. I think the hurdle for it was getting nominated, to be honest. I think now it's going to win.
And how often do you have a celebrity attached? Like,
who was at the Oscars last year?
Yeah, and I'm not talking about like Morgan Neville, who's like a celebrity to the documentary world. Questlove is well known, and he's well respected. And I think a lot of people did enjoy this movie, and it did show up. I think, like, the LAFCA gave it Best Editing. It showed up for Best Editing in the nominations at BAFTA. Like, I do think this has a bigger footprint than documentaries usually have.
Yeah.
So I still think it's the front runner.
Agreed.
I think that it was going to get it.
You did. I was trying to. The one time I tried to predict a snub in documentary instead of going with the predicted ones.
That was a snub. It was Rescue. I have that in Bardem, and you have Drive My Car instead of Tick Tick Boom in Picture.
I do. I do. I don't even know what else I got. Don't Look Up in Editing. I predicted that.
Yeah, that was your other main move. And then Ben had a wonderful morning. He was so
He did.
happy. He
Nightmare
got
Alley and
Nightmare
Don't Look Up.
Alley. Yeah, Ben, oh man, I'm very happy that. Of course, his favorite category didn't nominate "Don't Look Up" in Best Original Song, which again, so interesting
Yeah.
about this favorite.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a
but
good
it
one.
was, yeah, he was
It's one
fun. I
least
saw a lot of
connected to
people.
the actual movies.
Yes, I saw a lot of people. Somebody commented on our live reaction said, "I like the guy on the bottom." And I
I
was
saw that too. Yep.
about Ben.
That's Ben. It's because they
They're
like
not used
Nightmare
to
Alley.
Ben. They're like, "Who's Ben?"
Who is he? Who is this man? This Irish man? Is
This
he from
Irishman.
Belfast? Uh, Best visual effects. We got to it. Dune, Free Guy, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and Spider-Man No Way Home. They got 2 Marvel movies in. Free Guy is a disappointing decision, in my opinion. I mean,
It's fine. I would have taken out.
Godzilla versus Kong.
I would have taken out one of the Marvels again, biggest
Yeah.
MCU fan around. I would have taken out one of the Marvels and put in Godzilla versus Kong because I do think Free Guy was it creates a digital world, and there is something that movie did that was unique and special. Where as much as No Way Home, they're like, well, they de-aged the actors, and a lot of it is very CGI. It's like, yeah, but Marvel didn't break new ground. Like for the first Ant-Man, you could have that argument because that de-aging technique wasn't done before. But it's by now they're used to it. It's just let's do what we've always done before.
Yeah.
Even like for example, and people be like, well, why did you support Avengers Endgame winning Best Visual Effects? Not only were the costumes visual effects, their quantum suits were not real,
Yeah.
but I think the visual effect of going back into previous movies was a newer visual effect that was really well done. Like going into 2012's Avengers, like that was cutting edge. There's nothing really cutting edge here.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't particularly think something needs to be cutting edge to get nominated. I think if it's good visual effects and it's all stuff we've seen before, I'm fine with it being nominated. Like, I don't think anything in Godzilla versus Kong was something we haven't seen before, but I would still
well,
be
I
happy with
mean,
that being nominated.
I think the world, I forget what the name was, but the world, in the center of the core of the earth, whatever. It's been a year since I saw this movie.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty well done,
Yeah.
especially like traveling in there, and then the fact that you saw Godzilla versus Kong. That's
You
I
did?
haven't seen that before. I've seen Spider-Man swing around, and to be honest, I don't know if this went out. If not, it will be coming out soon. For our Oscar picks, Ben,
Mm.
Jack and I, we picked Eternals as the best Marvel visual effects movie.
We did, yeah.
So,
I
like,
forgot about that.
so that's why I think you could have taken out one of the Marvels, put in Godzilla vs Kong, and I think this is deserving. I was not on the
Mhm.
Free Guy doesn't deserve this train, and I also didn't like the thing of like I saw people like the Green Knight got nothing, but Free Guy got a nomination. It's like it's completely different
Perspective.
category.
Yeah.
You can't do that. It's like saying like Suicide Squad got a nomination, but The Suicide Squad didn't get anything. Suicide Squad makeup
Yeah.
was well done. You can't look at these movies narrowly and only with one perspective. There's multiple
Yeah.
facets to this.
The Suicide Squad makeup team has an Oscar, and Amy Adams does not. Yeah. That's who I
Again,
always go to. She
fun
deserves
sentences,
one.
but they're weightless.
Yeah. Yeah. They make no sense. Yeah. So, but Dune is winning this. Lock
Oh
it
yeah,
in.
100%. This would be the
Yeah.
biggest shock ever.
Could you imagine? What even would it be? No Time to Die? Probably.
Yeah, because they like their invisible effects, and that's the only
Yeah.
one that showed up in other places.
Yeah. Okay. Best
What? That's gonna
cinematography.
happen.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Best cinematography, we've got Dune, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. This is the dream lineup. I didn't think it was gonna happen, but this is the 5 that I wanted. I had Belfast instead of Nightmare Alley. But yeah, I'm very happy with this lineup. What do you think?
That's, no overall big takes with this one. This is expected, and it's great.
I'm happy West Side Story got in because it was missing a lot of places.
Yeah. Now the question for the win here is: do they go
Wins.
subtle and nuance, or they go big and showy? They tend to go big and showy.
They do. I know last year was a big surprise in cinematography. Nomadland was expected to make one. I don't know what they're gonna go with here, to be honest. I know Dune is the current front runner. Maybe. I don't know.
Interesting. Well, oh, I
TBD.
mean, it's not like we're not going to talk about this for the next 7 weeks.
We've got weeks to
We'll
come.
come
Yeah.
back.
So that's one of the few categories that I don't have a hot take on. Best production design, we've got Dune, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, Tragic Macbeth, and West Side Story. I think the surprise here being Power of the Dog making it in.
Glad to see Tragedy Macbeth in there.
Yeah, very
Um,
deserving.
yeah, and I think Power of the Dog is very well deserving. I mean, the atmosphere of that movie, it's being created. The Old West is being created in New Zealand. Like that's impressive.
Yeah,
And also, the house is such a character. Like the effect of Kirsten Dunst's character is all in whether you believe how uncomfortable she is in that house. And so the design of that movie, I find, again, nuanced, subtle, but totally deserving. And I'm very happy
yeah,
with the category.
yeah. It's a very well crafted film in like every aspect. So deserving. I think it's either Dune or Nightmare Alley that wins, though.
Yeah, I'm sure between them, I would probably, yeah, I can't call that one yet. But yes,
Yeah,
I
that's
agree.
another tricky
Probably
one.
there. I mean, I would love a Tragedy Macbeth was in consideration. I mean, I would probably, out of those five, I would probably pick Tragedy Macbeth. Um, but who knows? Anything can happen.
Indeed. Best international feature film: Drive My Car from Japan, Flee from Denmark, The Hand of God from Italy, Lunana, a yak in the classroom from Bhutan, and The Worst Person in the World from Norway. The big snub here being A Hero, Farhadi's film.
Yes, so I was in his presence a mere 24 hours ago. He is taking a short tenureship with my school, and I
That's
got
cool.
teaching him math. But my belief was that he was doing this because he thought he was going to be around here for award season. So I don't
Oh,
like. I think that was the reason that he knew he was in the States for a while. Um, so again, very sad. A Hero is a wonderful film. Check it out on Amazon Prime.
yeah.
I do think it's the Tom Hanks syndrome of like you gotta be really good now to get in because
He's already like won multiple
he
times.
won twice, and
Yeah.
so and he also the last time he won, it was the whole big Trump Muslim ban said he didn't come because it was that he made a big deal with that win, and
Yeah.
I do think that he's just that's what's going to hurt him going forward is that he's so good. Like his last movie with Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem, it's a fine film, but it's
Yeah.
not the same level as his all-time greats, and I think he has to reach that level in order to get the recognition. Unlike newer, fresher talents and discoveries like we see with this category.
Yeah.
But it's still a deserving film, and I hope everybody checks it out. But as far as this goes, I think I hate when people say like, if Drive My Car is in picture, then maybe somebody else will win here. No, Drive
No.
My Car is winning here. If it's in picture, it's winning here. The only time it's not clear is that if you ever had two international features in picture, which
In
I think
picture.
is coming one day very soon.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Definitely
But
possible.
yeah, this is Drive My Car, hands down.
100%. Yeah. I don't see anything else happening. Next up, getting down to the wire here. Best actor, we have Javier Bardem being the Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch, Part of the Dog, Andrew Garfield, Tick Tick Boom, Will Smith, King Richard, and Denzel Washington, The Tragic Macbeth. Safe four here, and then it was Javier Bardem who got that fifth spot. No Dinklage, no DiCaprio. Those were the only other ones I was thinking of. So yeah, this is 2 years in a row that the SAG lead actor nominees has matched up exactly for the Oscar lead actor nominees.
Yeah, I predicted this. I called this one based on my feeling that Being the Ricardos would show up elsewhere,
Yeah.
but it did not. So
Yeah.
I guess thank you for Bardem for getting this prediction right. Let's
Yeah.
pour one out for Nicolas Cage,
Yeah.
who was
Indeed.
wonderful.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, so many. This was a really competitive and really great lead actor race.
Yeah.
Here's my hot take. I think Benedict Cumberbatch has a very strong chance to win this. I think
he's my number one right now. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think unfortunately Andrew Garfield, Tick Tick Boom, not getting into picture. Though again,
And he missed the BAFTA.
And he missed the BAFTA. I do think that he is now the third place locked in.
I think that was more hopeful on all of our parts, probably.
Yeah, yeah. But as for Benedict Cumberbatch, and people may say that this is hopeful too, but this is the thing. It's the most seen. I think it will end up being like the most seen movie post nominations because it's the most nominated. So
I don't know
people are
about
going to
that.
watch the
I would
movie.
say Don't Look Up and Dune maybe would be more seen still.
They're more seen now, but I think post what movies are going to have the highest increase in like viewership? I think it's going to be
From
Power of the
voters or
Dog.
like in general?
I think from voters. I think just in terms of like
Okay.
what people are going to pay attention to, it's going to be Power of the Dog, and I think Drive My Car. We'll see a
I
big
feel like based off of these results, the voters have probably already seen it if they voted for it this much.
Yeah, but you gotta remember, like the whole Academy doesn't vote for all of these awards. The branches
No,
individually
but it got
votes
in
for
pretty
it.
much everywhere.
It got it pretty much everywhere, true. But I do think that I just feel that that movie is going to like a lot of people are just going to say, all right, let's give this a second watch now that it got like now it has to prove itself. So I
Yeah.
think that might, which granted doesn't always help. La La Land had to prove itself and it couldn't do it, despite how great a movie it is. But my point being here is I think it is going to be watched more than it would have been if it, let's say, got 7 nominations. Like it's
Yeah,
going to be more out there.
it is. He's going to win the BAFTA too. And that's the same trajectory as last year.
Agreed. So this is my just overall. I just think Benedict Cumberbatch. He's a previous nominee for Imitation Game. He's a very well respected uh, actor. He makes a lot of films, and he has and in many different places too. He's not just known for one movie, so he probably has a large fan base. I mean, going back to Sherlock, and I don't see the Will Smith argument. The only thing that people say is that he's deserved. But
It's
that's
his
not,
time.
people don't win because they're deserved. And people that you make point to like Renee Zellweger, she'd already won, and people genuinely thought Judy was the best performance in that category. And to be honest, I think they have an argument there. I love Scarlett Johansson and I love Saoirse Ronan, but if you told me that that's who was the best, I wouldn't argue on it. Where this, again, just people don't start with he is really great. They start with he is overdue, and that this is his year. When obviously it's not his year. It's Power of the Dog. It's Shane Campion's year more than anybody else.
Yeah.
So
I think he is one of the few cases where speeches would have helped him greatly. Will Smith giving speeches like say at the Golden Globes or if he won something else before it. I do think he would give a great speech and people would be like, yeah, that Will Smith guy, he really does deserve something. I think that's probably going to hurt him. And he's also not campaigning a lot. I haven't seen him doing
I
that.
haven't seen him at all, which he could be
Surprising.
waiting.
I feel like
so
he's down to do that.
But he could be waiting so he doesn't peep. But at the same time, like this is like DJ Jazzy Jeff. This is the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. This isn't like Benedict Cumberbatch. He's British. I think he went to drama school. Like this is a more traditional actor. He just seems the more like if you put the two of them next to each other, Benedict Cumberbatch just seems the more likely contender. And I don't mean to say that Will Smith can't give a great performance based on his background and where he started, not at all. But I just feel that in terms of like how the Academy votes, like they go for the Frances McDormand over the Carey Mulligans. They go for, the Renee Zellwegers over the Saoirse Ronans. They go for the Olivia Colmans over the Glenn Closes. They go for the movie that is more well-liked, usually, among the overall body and represents a real craft to the acting. I mean, if you put one-to-one, like Will Smith is very charming in the movie, and he has a couple of great scenes, but it's not the same level of craft in the performance, personally, with Benedict Cumberbatch, and I feel that a lot of people may feel the same way.
I do think there are some recent performances where it is kind of a little more star power than it is craft. Like I don't think Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did anything like craft
supporting,
special. That is supporting. Yeah, I also think Rami Malek.
I think there's a difference.
Bohemian Rhapsody wasn't anything craft special. I think that was
not
Freddie Mercury.
But even then, like I think the issue with that, I think the reason why Rami Malek won is because Christian Bale was really the only other person because Bradley Cooper just never materialized in that category he probably put himself in. Christian Bale had already won. But these are two guys who haven't won. I don't know. I find it very hard personally when we look at the past couple of winners. Will Smith just doesn't feel like he doesn't feel like he's in the
No, I
same
agree.
type of sphere as like Anthony Hopkins, Joaquin Phoenix. Again, aside Robbie Malek, Casey Affleck, Gary Oldman. That Benedict Cumberbatch, I feel like fits more with that group than Will Smith. And
He does.
I also don't think this is necessarily like it could come off this way. I don't think it's a race thing. I just think because if Benedict Cumberbatch was in King Richard and gave that performance, it would be the same thing. It's just they're not comparable movies, I think.
Yes, agreed. Agreed. I do think Benedict Cumberbatch would be my number one. I do think Smith is the only other person who's competing with him as well. Also, fun fact, they broke the record. I believe it hasn't happened in 40 years that there hasn't been a first time nominee in Best Actor, and there wasn't one this year.
Yes, because Dinklage missed out.
He did. He was really the only shot. I think it's all about what is in contention, and there just wasn't a ton of that this year. So that's that.
All right.
Best Actress. Insanity.
Here come the little monsters.
Jessica Chastain, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman, The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz, Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman being the Ricardos, and Kristen Stewart for Spencer. That's the thing that made me the happiest today. Kristen Stewart and Spencer. That's the best pick.
It was good morning. I saw a tweet that said, "Who would have thought that in 2022, Kristen Stewart would be nominated for an Oscar and Robert Pattinson would be the Batman in the highest, most exciting movie of all time?" By the way,
he's going to get an Oscar nomination soon, too, I bet.
One of these days. You may be distracted in Gotham for a little bit because I don't know. They released the tickets for the preview IMAX.
The IMAX one. Yeah.
March 1st. Sold out within an hour. This is
I couldn't get any.
Crazy. So
it's gonna be big.
Taylor Lautner, your move.
Yeah. I don't even know if he's acting still. Maybe for the Shark Boy and Lava Girl sequel.
No, he wasn't in that. That wasn't him.
There was a sequel?
There was.
I didn't know there was a sequel.
Taylor Dooley came back as Lava Girl, but he didn't come back as Shark Boy.
Oh yeah, so he's probably not acting if he's not willing to do that.
No, but hey, again, anybody can win an Oscar. So
yeah, anyone can. But yeah, the big misses here being Lady Gaga, who what's the stat here? I don't think anyone has ever not been nominated with all the precursors she got, I believe was the stat. Something like that. Let me pull it up.
What is Critics' Choice, Golden Globe, BAFTA, and SAG? Those are your four.
Yeah, it's the first. Oh no, it's the first time since 1987 without any. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong one. There was no.
I always look at it as like post Shakespeare in Love. Like before that, it's like a completely different mentality, completely different voting bodies. Like I just personally usually use Shakespeare in Love. It's like from then on, or like actually from like Crash on, because that's again when we started.
It's a very different with the preferential ballot too. But the stat was no Best Actress nominee was nominated for all the main precursors, BAFTA, Critics' Choice, Golden Globe, and SAG since the introduction of the awards. So
so
that's that.
Listen, this is okay. Lady Gaga's going to work again. First off, this is not like ruin her career.
She's very respected in the industry. Yeah, I mean, look at what House of Gucci did money wise. That's like she was the reason pretty much why that movie did so well. She brought in the box office, and it was still in contention for awards. So I think these people who are making these award contending movies are going to be like, Lady Gaga has this prestige, and she brings in the people. Well, I'm going to want her in it.
Yes, I think the box office is attributable to her when you compare Ridley Scott's other movie from this 2021. I do think, listen, I'm a big Lady Gaga fan. I loved her in A Star Is Born. I love what she represents in terms of her image and like born this way type of mantra. Love it. I think she's got to be careful because it happened with A Star Is Born when she was like, there could be 100 people in the room.
100 people in a room. She's talking about Stanislavski now.
And then this one with the accent, like I think she takes it a little bit too seriously, and I think people are seeing that. And I wonder if that affected her, because I think you look at like who got in. It's Penelope Cruz and Kristen Stewart. Kristen Stewart on camera saying, "I don't really give a fuck about the Oscars," and Penelope Cruz, who did no campaigning and just lets the work speak for herself. I think Lady Gaga needs a little bit more restraint and let her work speak for herself. Which, granted, most of the times it can. She's the best part of House of Gucci, and she is a great actor. So going forward, let's not get into all like the bells and whistles. I think she campaigns too much personally, and I think that
Yeah.
affected her.
I think also, I don't know if you watched the interview with Jake Gyllenhaal and her. It was a good interview. The actors on actors thing. I think she's probably, I don't know how to describe it. I think she does take it a little too seriously. And I think she is maybe like a little too, I don't know how to word it. Like the way she was talking about her performance and her experience on that set and the way Jake Gyllenhaal was reacting to it, who's, I think, probably a more experienced actor, I would say.
Well, that's a diss.
Yeah, I know
Jake Gyllenhaal's been working
well,
for 20 years.
she's acted before is what I mean. Like she always talks about like going to acting school and such. But
No, it
either
was
way,
her first dream. She wanted to be an actor before a singer. No, yeah.
yeah. But either way, I think she's still learning a little bit. Is all I'm saying.
And like you go back and watch the actors and actors she did for Stars Born with Lin-Manuel Miranda when he was doing press for Mary Poppins Returns. That was lovely. So I don't think, again, this isn't an issue with her. And I don't think we're talking about, the reason why we're talking about this is why did she miss when she had all these precursors? And I think it was the campaign. And also the fact that House of Gucci,
Movie.
I just think the mentality when you're voting for Oscars, it's different. And that was not seen as an Oscar movie. But even despite that, I think she could have gotten in because she did give a good performance. I don't think it was a great performance. I don't think it was worthy of this nomination. But it wasn't, if that was the sole nominee for Gucci outside of makeup, I wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been perverse.
It would have been fine, yeah.
It would have
I'd
been
be fine with that.
I mean, I'm happier that these other women got
Yeah,
in.
this is a better lineup, yeah.
This is a better lineup. But so just the point being is I think going forward, I just think that she just let the work speak for itself because the work can speak for itself. I think, and I don't know if this was just because House of Gucci got mixed reception, so she felt she had to work it more, but just let the work speak for itself because the women in this category, Olivia Colman hasn't done a single interview for this movie.
She hasn't. No.
Neither has Penelope Cruz, really. Kristen Stewart worked it when the movie was coming out.
Stewart and Kidman both did decent campaigning, and Chastain did too.
But Kidman didn't do I think she did a little bit of the.
She didn't do a ton, no.
She didn't, these people did not they did not campaign. They let the work speak for itself. And
I think Chastain and Stewart campaigned.
Chastain did, but Chastain was in the least profiled movie. So she had to get awareness for it. And that's the difference. House of Gucci was being seen. It was engulfing the conversation, which was probably why people were considering it for picture and supporting actor and actress. Anyway, it's fascinating what happened with her.
Yeah.
I look forward
to She'll get nominated again. She'll win for acting at some point, I'm sure.
She'll win, or she won't, but it's not the end of the world. And I don't think, it's not the Academy, that's the other thing too. If you loved her in House of Gucci, if you're a little monster and you loved her not getting nominated doesn't change the performance. It's the same performance it was yesterday when you thought she was going to win. So, you got to remember that the Oscars, we love them because it's fun and you get to, honor work that we love. But the movies are the same. You can have the same opinions, So I just think we need to remember.
Agreed. Definitely. I think the only other big miss here would be Alana Haim, who gained support with the BAFTA, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, I agree. I was expecting her to get in there. But
also, who wins the BAFTA now? 0 out of 6. Not a single actress in here who was nominated at the Oscars was nominated at the BAFTAs. So it's going to be helpful. It's not going to help us at all.
Renata was nominated, right?
She was, yeah.
I think she'll do it.
Yeah, I do think the two top picks were, I think, Alana Haim and Lady Gaga.
Listen, Emily Blunt won the SAG for A Quiet Place after not getting any nominations at the Oscars. Lady Gaga could win the BAFTA.
She could still win the SAG, yeah.
Yeah, I still have the theory that because Glenn Close won for The Wife, that they owe Olivia Colman.
I don't think Colman's going to win anything going forward, I don't think.
Well, now what's interesting is that we don't have 4 biopics. We have 2 original characters with Penelope Cruz in there. So that does throw a wrench in my original thought that Olivia Colman would stand out because she's not a biopic. I do think I am happy that they picked they out of the 4 biopic or 5 biopic women, the best 3 got in.
Yeah, yeah.
Do I think that Kidman wins?
I think
Even
so.
though he's my least favorite performance in this category,
Yeah.
which isn't bad. It's still a fine performance.
It's nothing special, really. I mean, she deserves a second Oscar, but I don't think for this.
If she runs the right campaign and she makes this as a Renee is Judy.
She's already doing that on her Instagram when she's celebrating these various nominations and stuff. She's her caption read like, since what's her name, Lucille Ball can get this recognition, I'm happy to take it on her behalf or something.
So yeah, let's see if that works for her, and it could. And I also think it's she didn't just win like Olivia Colman.
No,
so
it's been a while.
It's been a while since The Hours, I think in 2002, 2003. So I think it can happen, and I think a lot of people love her.
Yeah.
I mean, I think honestly, any of these women won, I would be completely fine. I think they're all deserving in some regards, some more than others, but I think they're all wonderful, and they're all wonderful people overall, and I would be happy if any of them won.
Do you?
But yeah.
Do you think Stewart has a chance at all?
Yes, I think
I don't think Cruz has a chance.
Cruz, I think anybody has a chance.
Yeah, I could see Chastain maybe winning SAG.
If Chastain won SAG, that could take her. Yes, I 100% agree.
It could be like last year, like someone who's not nominated at the Oscars is going to win BAFTA. Stewart probably wins Critics' Choice. Chastain could win SAG, and Kidman won Golden Globe. So, and that's what happened last year. Someone won something different for each one.
I agree. I think anything is likely. It's what makes this race, again, 2 years in a row, the most interesting race.
Easily.
And so, yeah, I was very happy with this category. I think this was they did a nice job with this one. And I will say, Nicole Kidman, the last shot of the movie because if you've seen the movie, they do this whole thing about Lucy, I'm home. And when Desi says it and you see Nicole Kidman's face, it reminded me actually of in Jojo Rabbit, when Scarlett Johansson yells at Jojo and then she realizes what she did, and that just her face acting is so brilliant. I thought she should have won the Oscar for that. I liken it to that moment. That one shot is deserving. So
she did do good. Yeah.
None
of these performances are bad, honestly.
None of these are bad. Very good. And I'm happier on being the Ricardos because it didn't get screenplay or picture. So now I can celebrate the movie and be like, listen, the acting is good. I never had a problem with the acting, and I can be happier on the movie.
Yeah. So I have no clue who's going to win, so I can't really pick someone right now. Yeah. TBD. Do you have anyone or also TBD?
TBD. I still don't think.
I'd lean Kidman on TBD.
With Buckley's presence, I don't think Coleman's out of it. I think if the right narrative gets thrown, this could be. I mean, Chastain. We're now in 2022. We're 10 years removed from Zero Dark 30. Many people may feel that because now Penelope Cruz has won.
She has.
Olivia Colman has won. Nicole Kidman has won. Kristen Stewart has not. But it's a more niche movie, I would feel.
It's her first nomination too. Chastain's been nominated.
That may lead somewhere.
It's definitely possible. Definitely.
Also, I want to just mention, I do think that Kristen not getting in at SAG got her in here because everybody ran with that story.
I do think so too.
They didn't run with Greta Gerwig, which we're going to talk about Jane Campion in a second. That is interesting that because I never buy into that because I'm like, usually it doesn't change their minds if you talk about the snubs in other organizations.
And have it with Delroy,
exactly. Delroy Lindo did not get an Oscar nomination. Though I think that was because they put him in the wrong category. He should have been in supporting.
Maybe, yeah. I also don't think they liked that movie came out too early, I think.
Yeah, but I think also because they wanted the potential for Chadwick to get double nominated. They didn't see it happening if Delroy was in there. That's a different...
True. Yeah, so that's all for... Oh, do you have something left for actress?
Well, no, I'm just saying that that's why I'm surprised that I think that did help Kristen Stewart get in here because she was taught, especially, I don't know, I think BAFTA came out after Oscar voting closed. Or maybe,
the nominations,
maybe there was 1 day overlap, but again, a rare time when discourse about a snub led to an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, definitely. Best director: Kenneth Branagh, Belfast; Ryusuke Hamaguchi, Drive My Car; Paul Thomas Anderson, Licorice Pizza; Jane Campion, The Power of the Dog; and Steven Spielberg, West Side Story. Looking at these five, like in a vacuum, just on their own, that's a good list of directors. There's always one who you're like, okay, I'm fine with this, but like which would be Kenneth Branagh here. But when you know who's missing, that's what makes it hurt. Denis Villeneuve, who I think gave the best direction of the year, in my opinion. I think he had the hardest task, and I think he did the best job. Um, and you can see that he everyone knows he did an incredible job directing because his movie got nominated everywhere it needed to be besides director, which
Every
is
technical component.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only reason this happened,
Everything that he was like captaining
yeah,
got in.
it's insane. I think the only reason this happened, because I do think he was number two, like in all these other places he's been nominated. I do think he's number two behind Jane Campion. The only way this happens, I think, is because people are like, oh, he's safe, so I'm going to put my support behind someone else.
Yeah, it's the Olivia Colman win. It's that Glenn Close is covered, so I'm going to vote my favorite, and
Yeah.
then the favorite, the favorite, haha. And then he just
Yeah.
doesn't get it. I do think he was the sixth, by the way. I know we'll never know, but I do think he was the sixth.
Oh, yeah. I don't know who else would have been.
I do think, though, listen, I love the movie. I think it's in my top 10 of the year. Personally, I would not have nominated him. I would have not. He would have been Sean Baker for Red Rocket, Jane Campion, Julia DeCournau, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and Edson Oda for 9 Days. Keeps great direction. He creates a world. But in terms of like where the camera is placed, and I feel like what he's saying from scene to scene, what we would be acknowledging is the technical craft of the movie. I don't know. I think that is not. And granted, we have our, I mean, I just think, look at like 2019, Sam Mendes didn't win. He went to Bong Joon-ho.
But he was nominated at least.
He was nominated. I just think that we might be moving away from big spectacle and leaning more towards nuanced camera work. At least that's what I feel. Because again, personally, I feel like he will get nominated for Dune Part 2. I will put that down, and I think he'll win.
I hope so.
Which I think also affected him. I think they know he's covered in the future, so let's vote our conscience elsewhere. Again, I love the movie, but I think that if it's going to be in picture, and it's going to be in screenplay, and it's going to be in every technical category, why not go Hamaguchi? There's nowhere else really besides screenplay to isolate direction. I understand why he missed. It's shocking, but not surprising, if that makes sense.
I guess, yeah. That's the big thing here, really. It's snub-wise. I can't think of anything else. That's the tragedy. And then winning is obviously Jane Campion. Nothing's affecting that.
Yeah, nothing. She is the first woman to be nominated twice in this category. Finally breaks the awful track record of like Catherine Bigelow not getting in for Zero Dark 30. Greta Gerwig not getting in for Little Women. There was a big problem with women directors getting in the club. So it's really fantastic for her. I wish her nothing but the best. She's an incredible filmmaker who's deserving of this honor, will win this honor. This is the only lock this season.
I'd say the only above the line lock. I think Dune has a few tech locks.
Screenplay, I think from screenplay, directing, acting, and picture, this is the only lock, and it's deservingly so. She is wonderful. And yes, I'm just I'm very happy. Also, Steven Spielberg, he becomes, I think, the first person to be nominated in 6 different decades.
Interesting.
I think he was nominated in the 70s and the 80s. I think the 70s for Jaws, the 80s, among others. I think the 80s for Raiders of the Lost Ark and E.T.
Probably.
The 90s for Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan. The 2000s for Munich. 2010s for Lincoln. And now I'm missing some.
That's crazy.
Yeah, credible feat for him, and I'm glad he got in. It's a beautifully directed movie, and
I'm so glad he made it. Yeah.
And also, I want to dispel. I saw a lot of this. Like this year doesn't have good movies. This year was a great year for cinema.
This was a good year. I don't think it's like the best year. I do think it is a good year, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't put this like. I still think that like
2019's iconic.
2019, 2017, 2015, there have been other
2014.
there have been other great years, but I don't like this is not a dumpster fire.
No.
There are a lot of great
Even
movies.
last year was a lot of good movies, and that was the pandemic year.
Yeah, so I also think you just got to be open to it. You can't go in with one favorite and then get disappointed when it doesn't get in.
Yeah.
You have to open yourself up to the other nominees. Paul Thomas Anderson, undefeated, it seems, in terms of getting into the best director category, as he did for Phantom Thread. Very happy to see Hamaguchi in
They
here.
like him. Yeah.
They do like him. And then Brana, which he becomes the first person to be nominated in 7 different categories.
That's impressive too.
Which, if I can do this off the top of my head, picture, director, adapted screenplay, original screenplay, best actor, best supporting actor, and then one other, maybe, editing.
Did he edit something? I don't know.
I'm going to look that up while you get into picture. But again, listen, I don't love every Brana movie. I hated Artemis Fowl, and I thought his Cinderella and Thor were okay.
I loved Cinderella.
And I love Murder on the Orient Express. I'm so looking forward to Death on the Nile. So listen, he's one of the people that his movies may be a mixed bag, but I love him. And I really, as much as I thought Belfast was really mediocre, I'm happy to see him. I'm happy. I would have preferred, of course, Denis or, Maggie Gyllenhaal, other people in. I can't begrudge him because I do think he's a nice guy who really doesn't take this for granted, I feel. And I think
and it's very personal.
Very personal. So, he's not the worst. He's not like, if Aaron Sorkin got in here, I think I would have been a little bit more.
I would be mad. Yeah.
Again, nothing against Sorkin, but that was not a particularly well-directed movie.
It's not a feat.
Neither is Belfast, but I think Brana I at least have a little bit more of respect for as a craftsman.
It feels more like something he had his heart in. I don't know how much Sorkin had his heart in.
And it obviously connected with a lot of people. And listen, there are a lot like Boyhood and Roma don't connect with everybody, and I like those movies more. And if this is this person's Roma or Boyhood, I do not begrudge that experience.
I don't think anyone else could have made this Belfast. Someone else could have made a similar movie, but this version of Belfast is very specifically him. I think someone else and many other directors could have made Being the Ricardos and probably done a better job with it.
Yes, I think if you gave Being the Ricardos I think Greta Gerwig could have done something interesting because she has always a unique perspective. But even somebody like Matt Shackman, who did WandaVision, I think he could have brought a visual flourish to the movie that I think it so desperately needed. But we don't have to talk about it anymore because
it's going to be nice. Jane Campion and then Chloe Zhao back to back. It's a nice trend.
Also, the last 2 Best Director winners were Asian. Ryusuke Hamaguchi potentially could continue that trend. Who knows? But I don't.
Probably not.
Probably not. Great to see him in here. And there's a theater playing Drive My Car about 30 minutes from me. It might be a lofty Uber.
Drive your car there.
I might get Uber to drive me to see the movie. And also, enough with this drive. I feel like every conversation is the full title should be Drive My Car, the 3-hour movie. It's 3 hours. Suck it up. Endgame was 3 hours. Lord of the Rings was 20. Just watch the movie.
Irishman was 3.5.
Yeah, so don't get if people are going to watch it because it's 3
is
hours,
not important.
that's the necessary detail. No, thank you.
Yeah, Batman's almost 3 hours. Plenty of people are going to see that.
They're going to see it 5 times opening weekend. So
exactly.
Don't give me it's 3 hours. That's a major detail that's going to affect your viewing of the movie.
It will not. Now finally getting into picture. Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Big misses here, Tick Tick Boom, and Being the Ricardos being taken by Nightmare Alley and Drive My Car's spots, who are probably also right on the outside.
Yeah, Lost Daughter also didn't get in. Spider-Man No Way Home and No Time to Die didn't get in. Granted, I never thought they would, given that Skyfall and Avengers Endgame didn't get in. So, by the way, the other category was Best Live Action Short Film for Brana, who was nominated for a 1992 short film called Swan Song.
There's so many swan songs.
So many swan songs.
Swan Princess.
Listen, even with Nightmare Alley and Drive My Car in the mix, this is kind of what we expected. There's nothing truly surprising here.
No.
I like half of these movies in terms of like actually thinking they're deserving of this honor and loving them. But again, we all
Yeah,
have different tastes. This is representative of an academy of different tastes, of different perspectives. And, you know, listen, in the end, Best Picture, it's especially with 10 nominees, it's going to cast a wide field.
I
And
do.
this
Yeah,
does that.
I think I've seen people saying with this season, like, oh, they should just go back to five because there's only like five really good movies that should be nominated. If you go back to five, you don't get Drive My Car. You don't get stuff like that, which I think is important.
Well, if you had gotten your five, do you think it's, yeah, it probably is different from the Best Director five. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think? It probably would have been Power of the Dog, Dune,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Belfast, West Side Story, and
Power of the
Coda.
Dune, Power of the Dog,
Power of the Dune.
Power of the Dune, Power of the Dog, Dune, Belfast are definitely in there.
I would say Coda was probably in there.
I don't know. I wouldn't say Coda because it didn't get a ton of other
Oh,
nominations.
Licorice Pizza would probably be in there.
I don't know about that either because it didn't get
Well,
edited.
what's in your vibe?
I would say then West Side Story and Don't
Don't
Look
look
Up.
it up. Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They really
I mean, it
liked it,
could
I
be.
think.
But anyway, point being,
Yeah,
you know, I, I do think that whether it's five, whether it's 10, whether it's 8 or 9, you know, there's always going to be movies left off. There's always going to be movies that we feel are undeserved. There's always going to be movies that we feel
yeah.
are deserved. It's Best Picture.
It's the way it is.
In the end, I care more about what wins rather than what's nominated because nobody really
Yeah,
remembers. I mean, people don't remember what wins, let alone what's nominated.
yeah.
So, and I know this will probably change and the season will change, but you know, I'm gonna stick to this as a Nomadland trajectory, and Power of the Dog
It is.
is gonna win.
Yeah, we'll. Yeah, I think if it wins the PGA, especially, it's lock it up.
Yeah, if it was PGA, we're done.
That's what happened with Nomadland. Once it won PGA, it was like, yeah, this is 100%. Nothing's challenging.
Granted, 1917 won PGA, La La Land won PGA, and we thought that was done. But like Green
Those
Book,
were more PGA kind of movies, though. Like Nomadland's not like a movie you would think the
I
producers would
agree.
go for.
Yeah,
I would say the same for Power of the Dog.
yeah. So which is great. It would be Netflix's first Oscar,
Which is
for Best
insane.
Picture.
Yeah.
Which it's interesting that even with three contenders and three contenders
Just
that I
two.
do think they were doing good campaigns in terms of they tried to get Tick Tick Boom in here, they seem to only be able to get two. Trial of Chicago 7 and Mank, Marriage Story and Irishman, and now Don't Look Up.
There's only so much money they can spend campaigning. And I think what
Don't tell
they've
that to
learned.
Netflix. They
Yeah,
have
that's true.
they've none of those pockets.
Amazon and Apple are going to come from. I think they probably have a little more.
Apple got in here, new streamer.
It did.
With
Amazon didn't. Yeah.
and Amazon's in it.
Amazon, I
So-
think, butchered their maybe less so for being the Ricardos, but I do think they butchered a hero. I don't think they did anything for a hero, and that's probably why it missed.
Well, interesting. I think that A Hero was submitted last year, but because it didn't release, they didn't accept it. And then, so maybe that
Sure.
affected it. And then also I think the Asghar Farhadi thing, just
Yeah,
the fact that he's such a proven filmmaker. I mean, look at this year. I mean, like Parallel Mothers wasn't even Spain's choice. Like we saw a lot
Yeah,
of like.
I bet they regret that now.
filmmakers
Yeah.
not getting the same platform, which I think is good. I like that we're not, because these filmmakers will be great filmmakers regardless, and people will go see their movies. If we start creating the next Pedro Almodovar, the next Asghar Farhadi, that I'll take. So
Yeah, agreed.
yeah, because like
Yeah.
now I guarantee you more people will be invested in the next Hamaguchi or the next film from the worst person in the world. So that's what this could be great. That's the whole point of the Oscars, is to raise awareness for films. Granted, blockbusters can get in here, but they really have to be like a Dune. They have to represent a creative achievement, because it's all about raising awareness. It's about honoring work that we feel is pushing the art form forward. At least it should be, and that's why I'm happy that Power of the Dog seems to be leading, because I do think it's doing that.
It is. And I do think that's what's going to win. I can't really see. Everything else underperformed. I don't know what else is. I don't even know it's number 2 anymore. But
King
probably still
Richard.
Belfast. Yeah, maybe King Richard. Who knows? Dune. It's Power of the Dogs. That's simple enough.
Because like I don't think I think it had 3 nominations, right? Because Coda got screenplay, picture, and supporting actor. I don't think that can win off 3 nominations.
No, I think
That'd
it
be
could win SAG. I think it could win SAG Ensemble, but I don't think
yeah.
it could win.
The same way that Black Panther won SAG, that would be the win for
Yeah.
that season. So like, I don't think Don't Look Up can win because it's too controversial. I don't think Coda will win because it's too low a field.
Hmm.
I don't think Licorice Pizza will win because of the stupid
It
controversy.
missed. It missed too many things too. It missed
And
editing. It missed the acting.
it needed to either get editing or one, if not both, of the actors for me to take it seriously here. And I do think it's
Yeah.
probably more on the controversial side due to the stupid controversy that I think will rise the more that PTA rises, which I expect will happen.
It's more susceptible to backlash. Yeah.
Yeah. Belfast, it'd be very safe. I
It
could
also
still see
underperformed too. If not a movie without editing and cinematography winning picture, that seems pretty rare to me. I can't think of that
Yeah.
happening anytime recently.
And then Dune missing director, and the fact that we have Dune Part 2, I think that means
Yeah,
that won't.
Dune or West Side Story would probably be my number two because I think those two relatively didn't underperform much. Like Dune just missed picture or director, and West Side Story only missed like 2 things.
But I don't see any urgency to like, we have to give it to Steven Spielberg this time for this
No,
remake. But I don't, and I feel that there is some sort of urgency to give it to Power of the Dog because it got so many nominations. The sound
yeah,
nominee in particular shows that there is a concerted effort to get it in there.
yeah, from
It
all
should be good.
branches, all around, and
Yeah,
that's who votes on picture. Everyone,
everybody, and it's preferential, which could
which
affect this.
you would think, but it did so well everywhere. You would think it's a general consensus.
It's a general consensus, and I think people always expect like the number 2 movie is like the feel good. Moonlight, I guarantee you, was the number 2 movie, which is
Moonlight was
not
the
a good
number one.
movie in any sense of the word. Yeah, but like you have to have 50.1% of number ones to win number one.
That's what you mean. Okay.
So I feel like Moonlight was a popular number 2. It was in the upper echelon of those things. It wasn't a feel-good movie. It was just really well regarded in all areas. I think Power of the Dog fits into that. So when we say that it's high on preferential, it's not because it's a feel-good movie. It's just because it's well respected among everybody.
Yeah.
And then also, last thing, it should be noted that Best Picture, Nightmare, it had 3 reimaginings, I'll say, because West Side Story, of course, 1961 original, Dune, 1984 original, and Nightmare Alley, I forget the year, I think it was 1947, though I could be off. So again, 3 remakes, but not really, because 2 of those are reimaginations of an original text that the original was also based on. But just interesting to note that we have, I probably one of the more prevalent and like remakes in contention for Best Picture.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that's everything. Went a little long, but it was fun. Lots to talk about.
Yes.
And
I think actually the Oscars are about to start. It's March 20th.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks of just talking about this stuff.
Batman is out. We have to.
Yeah. So is no, never mind. I was gonna say Doctor Strange. That's not gonna be out. It's not.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
What? 100 days? Less than 100 days?
Yeah. I'm excited for the Batman. Yeah. So that's everything. Comment your thoughts on all the predictions down below. Like the video, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next like 5-6 weeks leading up until the big day, the Oscar day.
Yes. We'll be back. We'll be covering, SAG wins, BAFTA wins.
We're in the win part now, yeah.
The win part, yes, which is
who's gonna win.
More exciting because it's, we get to react more instead of conjecture. And then we also get to hear speeches for the first time. So that'll be fun. I think
Hopefully,
SAG goes first, right? SAG will be first.
I think so. Yeah.
Choice. We'll figure that out.
Critics' Choice. I think Critics' Choice moved to the same day as the BAFTAs, right?
Interesting. So, anyway, well, thank you all for joining us on this in-depth conversation. I've seen a lot of people in the comments ask where they can follow us. So you can follow me at Antony _post. Antony has no H on Twitter and Letterboxd, and I think on Instagram. And you could also follow me. I am a panel member along with Jack on the Council podcast, which we just started our 5th season. We have a lot of fun things getting into. We will be of course, doing some awards talk.
Yeah.
Our first episode, which comes out this week, is we're doing a Nightmare Alley review. No spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, come join us for that. And also, we'll be doing Batman stuff and Turning Red. You know, we have a fun season over there.
Yeah.
So check us out.
Movies are getting started. The past 2 months
Yeah.
haven't been great, but they're getting started. Yeah. So, oh yeah, also, I'm Oscar Film FC on Twitter if you want to follow me. Awesome. Cool. So, thank you for watching, and we will see you all next time.